Ugh. Ow. Oh, hey. I just walked into a cobweb. So, last week we looked at drawing faces and getting the proportions right and putting the eyes and the nose and the mouth in the right place. So I thought we'd extend on that a bit this week, and we're going to draw a full person. Now, some of you may have drawn stick men. You've no doubt heard of stick men, very simple to draw. Well, we're going to take a stick man and beef them up and turn them into superheroes. What could be better than that, eh? So let's take a look, shall we? In fact, actually, I'm going to do a superhero swivel and see if I can turn into my super suit. Ready? Haha! I'm glad you backed up a bit because this is going to be amazing. Ready? I'm in my super suit. I'm wearing my super suit. That was a terrible idea, and I would advise not trying that at home. I won't be doing that again. So, stick men into superheroes. So for this, you're going to need the usual paper and a pencil and a black pen, something like a Sharpie. That's what I'm going to be using. And then later on, when it comes to colouring in, I'm going to be using these Winsor & Newton Pro Marker felt tips, but you can use pencil crayons or felt tips, whatever you've got there. And I like these though because they're quite good. You can put on a layer of colour and then go over it a little bit just to make it a bit darker, which is shading, which is another subject that we'll get to in another lesson. So anyway, moving on. To make your stick man, well, stick men usually have a head, don't they? So if we draw an oval like we did with the head that we drew last week, and remember this is your pencil outline, so that nothing has to be perfect with this because you can use your eraser just to fix any mistakes. That's what they're there for. There's that cobweb. So you're drawing an oval like that. Can you see it? I'll draw it a little bit darker in case you can't see it. Something like that. That's a bit better. And then a straight line going down like you would just for a stick man. And you've got to bear in mind that this is going to be the sort of main part of the body, so it's going to be sort of body length. Now we're going to draw another oval just a bit lower than the oval that's going to be the head, and this oval is going to be sort of sideways on. This is going to be just a guide for the chest. Okay, something like that. So once we've got the chest in, we can draw a line down here. That's not his legs. He's not doing the splits with very short legs. That's just an idea of how wide the waist is going to be. The waist is the area where you put your belt. So we'll bring the long line down a bit further. And I'm going to stop it about there. So about halfway up, I'm going to start drawing the legs out. I'm going to have them come out at this sort of maybe that's a bit wide, about like that. And same the other side. And a top tip for when you're drawing people or stick men that you're going to turn into superheroes is to really try to look down on your work, because if you're drawing at an angle or looking at it sideways, you can actually, without realizing it, distort the drawing that you're doing. You're going to draw bits larger or smaller that are closer to you and larger that are further away, just because of the way that you're looking at your work. So really try to look down on your artwork, and that's a good tip, not just for stickmen and superheroes, but for all artwork. Okay, so I think this is the top bits of his legs. So we're going to draw in a couple of circles just to remind us that these are where his knees are going to go. Alright, and then we're going to draw the shin, the lower part of his leg. So I'm going to have them brought in slightly, probably down, not far off the same length as the top parts of his legs there. Now, I was just mentioning proportion and getting, shapes right. Now, the thing with a lot of superhero drawings, like in comics and cartoons and that sort of thing, a lot of the drawings have what they call perspective, which is where something, so say a character is putting his hand closer to the screen. See, my hand looks bigger. Well, it's not because I've got a giant hand, it's just because it's closer to you, see? So this picture I'm going to try to keep perspective to a minimum because it is a bit tricky. So this is all going to be fairly simple to draw. I know you can easily do this. Okay, so we draw another couple of little circles at the ends of his legs there. Those aren't his strange feet, those are going to be his feet, but that's where that will end. And talking of circles, we're going to draw another couple of circles up here on the sort of corner of this oval that we've drawn there. Now that's going to be the shoulders. Then we're going to draw, now I want this character, like I say, I'm going to try and keep perspective out of it. So I'm going to have this character with his arms folded, like he's cross at some villain who's just robbed a jewellery store or something. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line down. Now if you think about what that might look like if you cross your arms and then try and draw that. So I'm going to have a line there, that's where his elbow's going to be, and then draw this arm coming up like that. And we'll do the same the other side, basically just copying what we're doing there. Right, so there's your basic stick man, and now we're going to turn it into a superhero. Which superhero do you think it might be? Any ideas yet? Well, let's crack on. You looked at the thumbnail? Yes, that is a giveaway. Okay. So let's draw a neck in. Neck's going to come in like that. Couple of lines either side. You can see this, can't you? I hope you can. So the two lines, that's just going to be the neck. It's going to be either side of this long line down the middle. Then we can draw around the circles on his shoulders, just like that. And remember, we can rub this out. We're going to go over it with pen and everything, so don't worry about getting it absolutely perfect at this stage. Now, another thing that people who draw comics, the artists that do all that, they're very good at anatomy. Now, anatomy means how the body is made up, where all the muscles go. And they know that certain movements and stuff are going to involve certain muscles and that's what they've got to draw in. But we know some of the basic muscles, so that's what we'll put into this picture, the basic muscles. So he's going to have a line going around the shoulders, and keeping that stickman line, we're going to build out on that and draw in some muscles going round. So it sort of bulges out just below the shoulder there for the tricep. And then we're just going to have this come round. This is going to be his elbow. And then we can draw in a forearm. I'm not going to make this character too muscly, because for those of you that know who this is already, he's quite wiry. So we draw an arm like that, and then we do the same the other side. Just copy the muscle there, the tricep, and then a line down and around that mark that we made, the circle that we made for his elbow. Bulge out a little bit for the forearm, and then come back in towards the stickman line. So we can complete this forearm by bulging out again and bringing it back down. So because he's got his arms crossed, this hand is going to be disappearing behind this forearm. And on this side, the hand that's attached to this arm is going to be reappearing. So we're just going to make that look like a bit of a triangle, and then you can have a finger or just a sort of small rectangle appear over the top, so that like that. See, this hand's reappearing. That's what we're trying to do there. All right. And then we can draw in the rest of his shoulders. We're just going to draw a bit of a lump joining onto his neck. Like that. And then we can draw a curved line coming inwards to that waistline that we drew. Now if we just drop a line down like this, because we're going to draw in the legs now. Now the legs they're not just a sort of sausage shape at the top. Because he's quite wiry, he's going to have muscle at the top, and then it's going to come in. So it's got a very gradual curve going this way towards where the circle is that we've drawn in for his knee, and it's going to dip in a bit and then go out for his knee. So then we can draw the underside. So if we draw from that little line there that we put at the bottom of the long body line, and do the same, so bulges out a little bit and then comes in towards the knee. Very spindly legs. Then for the lower part of the leg, the calf muscle, that's bulges out straight away at the top. Not so much on this side of the stickman line, just a slight curve there, and then bringing it back in, very narrow. A little bit more on this side, and bring that down. And then for his foot, it's going to curve out that way a bit, just to get the back of the foot in. And then join that up. And then basically the same on the other side. So drawing this leg, muscle going in closer towards the knee, and bulging out a little bit on the other side, but then coming back in towards the knee. And then the lower part of the leg bulging out, and then going back in towards the circle, which is going to be his foot, or more likely, a bit more like his ankle really, and then down around that circle down to his foot. Right, now his head's a bit big, so I'm going to change his head. Just going to bring this oval in a bit, make it a bit smaller, because otherwise he's got a giant head. And that's good for ball heads, but when you're drawing a character, you really want them to have a normal sized head, because otherwise people might think, why is his head so big? He's been zapped by a villain and his head's expanded. Alright, there we go, using the eraser just to get rid of that. Okay, so then you've got your basic spindly superhero. So from here, it's a case of drawing in the eyes. Well, this is going to be a big giveaway for those of you that don't know who it is, but remember how we drew the head last week? I told you how the eyes are actually halfway down the face. They're not sort of up high, they're about in the middle. So remembering that, we can draw in the eyes. Right, so there are the eyes, and then we're going to have to draw in his special emblem, which is really fiddly and I never get it right, so you'll probably be way better at that than I am, but I'll give it my best, which is all you can do. So I think it's an arm bent up like that. If I've got it wrong, I probably have got it wrong, but you can improve that on your one. Something like that. Okay, so we can actually very carefully start to rub out the stickman lines, because I think this stickman has been transformed now into a superhero, and that superhero is, of course, Spider-Man. Remember to just follow the lines when you're rubbing out. Actually, we could leave a little bit of the chest in, because that's going to help us with colouring in. Right, now Spider-Man's suit has sort of like red bits, almost like gloves, but they do join the top part of his suit. So we use the stickman line. I mean, you can do this any way you like. You don't even need to make this Spider-Man. You could make this into any superhero you liked. You could draw the muscles a bit bigger and turn it into the Hulk, really. Okay, so that's that part of the suit. I'm going to get rid of these circles, actually, because we don't need those big circles. And then the suit is red across the shoulders, but then it comes down with blue either side. You'll be able to see this much better once I colour it in to an area where I suppose his belt would be. But then it's got a kind of goes to almost to like a point. Something like that. And he's got red boots, which I don't know, part of his suit, I think. So I've drawn them with sort of arrows, almost pointing upwards. Okay, so now this is the point where you can colour in. So I'm going to use my the Pro Marker pens. I'll show you why I like them. For two reasons. You've got a big wide end on this end, and then turn it over, you've got a nice narrow end for detail work. So I'm going to use the narrow end. I'm going to start colouring in his head. Might speed this bit up actually so you don't get bored. Right, okay, so we've coloured him in, that's his suit, and so you can imagine he's going to be stood on something, so we're going to have to give him, this is what they call grounding, so basically we're going to just do a few lines just to show that he's not just floating in the air with his arms crossed. Right, so I'm going to use a finer black pen to go over the outlines, and then hopefully it should start to look more like the Spider-Man you'll recognise. Right, there we go. So you have your basic Stickman turned into Spider-Man. So from here you can do a little bit of extra colour. You could add some slightly darker reds, some slightly darker blues, or you might be able to just go over with the blue that you've already used just to make it a bit darker here and there. That's That's what I'm going to try and do here. Hopefully that will work. And I wouldn't draw all the, you know, like his suit has webbing all over it. I think on a picture that could get very messy, so I would avoid doing that really. But yeah, just go around. That's what I'm going to do here. I'll speed it up again, but all I'm doing is using the same coloured blue, being very careful not to go outside the dark line. And of course, the dark outline is something that you only ever see on cartoon characters or in comic books, because it's more of a two-dimensional thing. You wouldn't actually use black outlines on a real, if you were trying to draw something in real life, nothing has dark lines all the way around it, so you wouldn't tend to use that. But on superheroes, that's what they have. So I'm just darkening up these areas. Try and make him look a little bit less flat. That's basically what two-dimensional means. It's sort of a flat image. Well, there you have it. Spider-Man from a stick man. Now you know how to do it. So if you enjoyed doing that, I would suggest you practice this, you get used to the sort of proportions and things, and then try using that to create different classic Spider-Man poses, or use what we've learned here and how to turn the stickman into a superhero, and maybe make different superheroes. Put more muscles on. Like I say, you could turn him into Batman, or you could turn him into the Hulk, depending on how much muscle you put on, or what suit, super suit, you put on. Well, I hope you have lots of fun with that, and good luck. And don't try the spinny thing. It doesn't work. That's just for superheroes. So I'll see you next time.